Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Big Blonde and Beautiful, the podcast. If you're new here, my name's Kara Howie, and every week I pick a piece of film or media and discuss the fat representation in it. This week, we're going to be talking about the 1995 movie Now and Then, and today I have a special guest with me, Brooke. Want to introduce yourself a little bit?
Hi, I'm Brooke Kushevsky. I am a local theater kid, true crime connoisseur, and a dog mom. That's about it right now.
I wish I could be a true crime connoisseur. I get so paranoid when I watch stuff. I'm like, I can't.
That's why I fall asleep watching Bob's Burgers.
There you go.
You have to have a comfort show to bring you down from the anxiety.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So before we get into the movie, do you want to talk a little bit about your upbringing with diets and stuff like that?
Sure. So one thing I've always kind of known about myself is I come from sturdy stock, as I would call it, I guess. And I stole that from a TikTok I saw where a girl was talking about how she's very Irish. And so her body has always been built to withstand famine and work in the fields and things. And so I look at my family and I've got Polish and Irish. And when you put the two of those together, I feel like I could withstand famine probably. And I mean that in the most loving way to myself, honestly. But I noticed with myself and then even some of my siblings that, we weren't quite the same as some of the other kids in our class. I was just always very jealous of their metabolisms.
I understand that.
We're all very athletic. I try to be athletic still. I do like being active. But, we were always the taller kids, as I'd say, a little softer, or there was like a little more tissue there. Like we didn't have like the knobby, rounded out knees. Like you couldn't always like count our ribs looking at us. Like we were just, well maintained, but like we weren't unhealthy by any means. But it always felt a little different when you go to slumber parties with your friends and they're just a lot smaller than you. And the biggest thing I've noticed with myself is like I've always been sort of mid-sized. And I fluctuate a lot from that thin to mid-sized. So I know that there's honestly some skinny privilege with that a lot of times. Mm-hmm. Which is honestly what makes it so frustrating. And probably why I've been so invested in like fad diets and things. And I grew up in the height of Slim Fast era and Yoplait Light. I actually saw an old commercial from 2004 today. And it was the yellow polka dot bikini one.
Yes, I know that one.
The woman just walks past her bikini the whole time. And she's just eating the Yoplait Light because it's supposed to burn extra calories. And it's like when that's all you're ever consuming, it's hard to get rid of it. And one of the comments really stuck with me. It said, well, maybe it wasn't all my mom's fault. And it's like, it's honestly true because, our parents didn't ask for this either. They were brought up in their own version of a Slim Fast environment. They had their own almond mom to deal with, and they were just trying to pass on another lifestyle to their kids. And none of us really knew how to stop it or what to do with it. I know that I latched on to some of that a little more than maybe some of my siblings did, is because we were a very athletic family, but I felt like I had to look a certain way. And that's always been something that's stuck with me.
I can relate to a lot of that because I actually mentioned that in the second episode with Dumplin'. Like I always wanted to do pageants, and my mom said, hey, if you lose 50 pounds, let you be in a pageant. And I know, like, I'm not mad at her because I know in her mind she was thinking I'm just like encouraging her to like be healthier, lose some weight. But in my brain, it was like, you're never going to win unless you lose the weight. So why even bother? So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then doing theater, It was always this feeling of, well, I have to look a certain way, and I'm already tall. And so wanting to be the young ingenue character, and so I'm already tall, and I want to be this perfect, like, petite character that's really, like, my skeletal structure alone isn't meant to be petite. And so you're trying to fit into these molds that just aren't meant for you. And it hurts. And I actively will watch these videos of like millennial moms doing the affirmations with their kids, or they'll have lunch and they'll talk about their bodies and be like, what's that? It's a full tummy. And they're like so proud. They're like, yeah, it's great. And I'll watch those on what I call bad body days, just to like heal myself a little bit, because,
yes.
You know, it's so beautiful that everyone is trying to heal that piece of themselves that unfortunately is just there. And it's honestly just what we consumed in the media. And what was I talking to somebody about? Oh, the comeback of low-rise jeans and things. And I remember when those were so popular, because I was a teenager and I was so excited when high-waisted things became a thing and curvy jeans became a thing. Mm-hmm. Because it's just so much more comfortable than like having to get the perfect, like I would get the perfect studded chunky belt to wear so that it would fit perfectly with where my hips were, so that everything looked like it was smooth and nothing was gonna, like, you don't have to worry about how you're sitting and all this stuff. And the low-rise jeans I blame for some of the different like disordered eating and things, because you want to fit that mold.
Isn't there also a trend called heroin chic? Isn't that a thing?
I think so.
Yeah, you're supposed to look like super, super skinny, like people who do heroin, like literal drug addicts. They're like, yes, that's the beauty standard.
Well, and the people that their version of a diet was coffee and cigarettes as a meal. Like I remember that.
It's evolved. Now it's like iced coffee and a Jewel.
Yes, it has evolved. But now you can get protein put in that coffee. It's
there you go.
I'll if that's where you're at, I'll take it. You know, baby steps. But when you grow up in this environment of reduced fat everything, sugar-free everything, it really takes a toll on you, especially when you get to an age where you're now responsible for your own like diet and health. And I don't know how this has happened my entire life, but most of the time my best friends in life are people that are significantly small and can just like eat an entire pizza and lose 5 pounds. And I don't know why those keep being my best friends, but I love them dearly. I really do.
I'm in the same boat. But luckily, they're all very supportive of
this
type of stuff. So
they really are. But when you're trying to figure out why your own body isn't like that, and you aren't actually looking into what your body needs to maintain and be healthy and happy, you look other places. And so I wish I knew the number of different like fad diets and things I've tried. But, you know, I've tried everything from like literal vitamin patches that were supposed to speed up your metabolism. Things where almost completely cut out carbs and sugar and all this stuff, and would do that for months. I took fat burner pills for literal years to where my tolerance to caffeine is insane, and it doesn't really touch me too much anymore. Like it ruined when you stop doing that too, all that caffeine and everything that you're taking in, between that and a medication switch in my life, like I ended up like losing some hair and like it thins out. And if you're on these starvation diets, another thing that happens, and like I have a lot of white and gray hairs because you're speeding up that process. You're adding that stress to your body, and it ages you in different ways. So now I'm just trying this whole intuitive eating thing, and trying to listen to my body and what does it want. And it's hard.
Yeah, I understand that because I have PCOS, and so some days I'm like starving, like nothing I eat seems to fill me up, and then I'll have other days where like I really don't want to eat anything. So,
I do too. I have PCOS as well, and then it has that insulin resistance, and so like it makes it so difficult to do all those things. And then I was talking about that skinny privilege that comes with being mid-sized, like I would consider myself, because right now I'm like a 12, 14, which is pretty standard for where I've been a lot of my life. Like even when I was at one of my thinnest points as an adult, I was in like a 9, 10 range, and that for like modeling purposes and things is still considered plus size, but like it's not. It's a mid-size. Had a rough few years where they had me on medication to handle some depression. And between that and the lifestyle I was leading with it and the people I was around, I went from very, very small. I had some good muscle on me, but at the same time, I was withholding. I was not eating well. I was not taking care of myself. So I went from very small, and I gained like 100 pounds in like a year kind of thing, which was terrifying to me. And then when they take you off of that medication and you leave this unhealthy circle that you're in, and maybe that weight comes off naturally on its own, and people start using the word beautiful again. And I don't think anyone really realizes it, even like your own family or friends. I don't think they realized that they hadn't said that to me in so long. And suddenly you're little Miss Skinny Minnie and you're beautiful again. I don't think it's truly through any true fault of our family's faults or fault of their own. It's the way they were raised too.
Yeah, they were told the same things, and I think it's getting a little bit better. I mean, we still have a long way to go, but I feel like people are more willing to talk about it and try and like break that generational like fat shaming situation. All right, are you ready to get into the movie?
I really am.
I'm going to give a little synopsis about it, just in case people listening haven't seen it. 4 childhood friends who are now in their 30s are having a reunion. Their lives have gone separate ways and very different ways. Together again, they reminisce about their younger years, especially the eventful period when they were 12 years old. And also, specifically Chrissy, because we can talk about all of it, but since we're talking about her mostly, she was raised by an overbearing mother who sheltered her. Her naivete, particularly about all things sexual, is often laughed at by her friends. She is the good girl who chastises the others for cussing. Being the most responsible, she closely monitors the treehouse money they are saving. She also questions the others' schemes, but is fiercely loyal to them. As an adult, she marries the nerdy Morton Williams, and they live in her childhood home and later have a baby girl. The pending birth of her first child brings Samantha and Teeny back to their hometown. You said this is one of your favorite movies, right?
It really is.
Because this is only the second time I've ever watched it for this podcast, so you probably are much more the expert than I am.
I don't know if I'm an expert, but I think my mom introduced me to it when I was like in middle school. And so I used to watch it kind of on repeat, and I love it because I feel a kinship with Chrissy, because I had a lot of friends in like the Catholic school where I went to, but I was still the one that was a little more sheltered with like my knowledge of the world. And so I love that Chrissy's mom literally says, and since your friends are trash mouths, you better hear it from me. And like my friends were like the foul-mouthed friends. And so I learned so many things from them that, thank goodness I did, because no one likes having talks about the facts of life it gets uncomfortable for some.
Yeah, I was also very sheltered. I knew very little, so I definitely related to her in that way. I specifically remember there was a boy in my grade, two boys. They had very similar names, and so one of them, when I was like in first grade, I just started calling him BJ because those were his initials. And then as we got older, the kids, when I would say BJ, they would like giggle. I'm like, what, why are you laughing? This is just his, like, it's his initials. Why is it funny? So, and I didn't find out for years. I didn't understand.
I was in a similar boat, yes. But she's one that wants to follow the rules. She's very sheltered. This isn't really an important fact, but I was also the one that would have had a hard time getting that bike going.
Yeah, I noticed that. I think in almost every shot when they're riding bikes, she's like at the very back.
Yeah.
Like yeah.
But I think that was also a play on them making fun of her size.
Mm-hmm.
And really, I looked exactly like Chrissy before I went through any growth spurt, and just in general. And that wasn't a bad thing. It's just the way she was built. And sometimes they'll call her lard ass.
Yeah.
And like that, made me mad because I really didn't feel like there was that big a size difference between her and the other girls.
There wasn't. She just had more cheeks, I feel like. Like, she just had a rounder face.
A rounder face, pretty much. And she was a little curvier, like, genetically.
That could also just be puberty, that the other girls hadn't hit it yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I remember being in, like, 4th and 5th grade, and I had like graduated out of the juniors section. I was getting to start shopping in the adult clothes. Mm-hmm. One, I was tall, so I was too tall for any of the junior stuff, but size-wise, I had outgrown most of that. And so you look at Chrissy in this film, and it takes you back to that thought of, oh, I know exactly how she feels right now, because she's trying to keep up with this body that she has that her friends don't have. And the whole, I have to eat every few hours or I feel nauseous thing. I'm like, I relate. I keep snacks in my purse. Chrissy probably had PCOS. Like, let's be honest. She probably did. There was something going on. She's maybe about to hit a growth spurt, and you have to eat a little more before those growth spurts. Something I think about a lot when it comes to this film is, and as a person who's been self-conscious of their body their entire life, the goal had always been get to a certain size and you'll be perfect, you'll be fine. And what do they do to her in her 30s? They make her the pregnant character. And for the longest point in time, that has been like the scariest thought to me, is like getting to a certain point where I'm happy, and then all of a sudden there's a baby and everyone talks about how hard it is to just snap back.
Yeah.
Right. And so like they already made her the fat character in her youth, and now she's the pregnant one as an adult. And I didn't think that was fair. Is she the most maternal of all of them? Yes. She's the one that would have the child. But there was a part of that kind of hurt to watch, because I was like, why? And then they even made fun of her then for her shelteredness and her like of the things of the past.
They were kind of mean. Like, I know girl friendships can be weird, but I feel like they were more mean than nice to her in particular.
Yeah, they always picked on her.
I actually had a question. So, like, you said your mom introduced this to you when you were in middle school. Did watching that at that time in your life, like seeing Chrissy, how did that affect how you viewed yourself and maybe even your friendships at the time?
It was funny because I could almost identify what friends were each of the friends. But I should mention I also felt a small kinship to Teeny. So I spent a vast amount of time in my room just making up scenarios and winning awards. So I'd walk around and I would make gowns for myself out of whatever I could find. And host fake award shows and different scenarios and talk to myself, and I still do. I still talk to myself. You have to.
I do too. My brother will come in and be like, "Who are you talking to?" I'm like, "Myself. I'm having a staff meeting, okay? Leave me alone."
I'm talking to the academy. Can't you see?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're all here.
Like, I could almost pinpoint exactly what character my mom would have been. Like, she definitely would have been a Roberta, because it was her and her sister, and they have a bunch of brothers, and they were all raised on a farm. She was always the tomboy. But she raised me to be a girly girl because she was the tomboy. So she wanted me. It's like she's admitted this. She raised me purposefully to be the girly girl because she never did that, and she wanted that for me. So I was raised on the princesses and the ruffles and everything, right? I could watch that, and I knew exactly which friends would be the ones that were like, yeah, let's just ride our bikes and go here. Like, I'd be like, we shouldn't do that, and here's why. I was the goody two-shoes, the rule follower, the sheltered one. Yeah. I wasn't going to swear or say anything sinful because we did go to confession at school, so I had plenty to talk about. But which friends were the fashionable ones? Who were the tomboys? Who were the ones that would likely break into a graveyard and probably try a seance? I had one friend that tried to play with Ouija boards a lot, and I was like, how about we don't? Because
how about we don't do that?
How about we don't do that? But not only was, Chrissy was she was the one that was picked on, and they made her the girliest. And it made it even harder. It made it even easier to pick on her, even though, Teeny was really into like her jewelry and being fashionable and all of these things, but no one made fun of Teeny.
Like, if you would have said something, she would have beat the crap out of you. Like,
she'd shut it down real fast. And, Chrissy wasn't raised that way. Mm-mm. I would have freaked out if a bird pooped in my hair, but you wouldn't have gotten me in a pond at that age. That's for sure.
I hope that everyone would freak out if a bird pooped in their hair. I don't know anyone that would be okay with it.
I know, and then they made fun of her again. It was just another point to make fun of Chrissy, and I was like, this couldn't happen to someone else.
I know. Maybe also because they show a scene where she's like brushing her hair 100 times. So they were like, she cares about her hair, so we're going to destroy it.
We're just going to destroy Chrissy. I felt so bad for her. I wish there would have been a little more acknowledgement at some point in just how loyal she was, because they make fun of her. They talk about how she's the slow one, the sheltered one, and all this stuff. They make fun of her, and then she's the only one that actually tries to give CPR to Roberta. She's there to take care of her friends. Mm-hmm.
She's the only reason that they still somewhat are in each other's lives. So
yeah, well, she's close with Roberta, but I think it's just because they're in the same town. Honestly, you wonder if they would be outside of that. But you see, Teeny and Samantha, they have their own little kinship because of Samantha's near-death situation, which I'm just mad that she climbed in a sewer grate.
Yeah, has the movie It not come out yet?
Yeah, but it was set in like the 70s.
That's true.
So
yeah.
We'll give her
her
a pass, but not the writers or the director.
Maybe don't do that though.
Yeah, don't do that
when it's pouring rain.
When it's pouring rain, yeah. Just don't climb down there in general. It'll be okay. You can make a new friendship bracelet.
When I was doing some research for the podcast, I found an article talking about some of the problematic things in the movie, and the woman who wrote it was like, I was definitely a Chrissy, and I felt bad for Chrissy being fat shamed all the time and made fun of, but I never brought it up because I wanted people to think I was the cool Samantha.
Yeah. I wanted to be Samantha so bad, and I don't know why. I really don't know.
I feel like I would want to be Roberta.
I don't know. I wanted to be pieces of all of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because
I definitely have some Teeny too. I'm very dramatic. So
same. I'm very dramatic, but I was a Chrissy, but I think that's also one of the reasons I didn't love Pink as a kid. Like I rejected anything girly.
I did the same thing. I've just recently been like, no, I like pink.
Yeah. No, in the last couple of years, I've started to embrace pink and gold jewelry and all of the things flowery and feminine and fun because for a long time I rejected them because I thought I had to like everything black and, you know, punk rock. And pink can be punk rock. So
I feel like having you mention like the femininity part and everything, they really did dogpile everything onto Chrissy.
they did.
That I feel like they took all the things that people find unattractive in women and they just like was like, here's Chrissy.
I had a canopy bed and everything. It had princesses on it. I remember looking at my canopy. I was like, it's so girly. Why do I have this? And it's like, because I liked it. And that's okay.
Yeah. Just shows the influence that movies can have on you. This will be the second episode with this, so a thing called Thick or Stick. Were they actually like a fat person, or Stick did Hollywood just want us to believe that they were? And for me, Chrissy's definitely falls into that stick category. I don't know what you think about it.
No, I would definitely agree.
Yeah.
As a child, I would not have.
I know, it's so weird. Like, I did the same thing with Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. When I first watched it as a kid, I was like, Carmen is huge. And like, no, she's not.
It should not be something that anyone is shamed. Those shouldn't be something that anyone is shamed for ever.
Yeah.
Regardless of your cultural background. Like, that's just part of your genetic makeup and the way your body looks. That's okay. And another reason I'm so thankful for curvy jeans. Because there's just that extra room in the hips and it's beautiful.
So overall, do you think that the representation is positive or negative?
It's negative.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely negative and exacerbating that idea of what the perfect body style should be, especially for a child. And I think that was what makes me the angriest is that this was a child. If you look at the 70s, though, they would have considered her unhealthy. Historically, it fits. It doesn't mean it's right.
Think about that. Yeah, I didn't think about that. The time period of it.
Yeah.
I also think of the child actress, like being on set and being told these things. Like even for adults, I feel like on TikTok I recently saw an interview with young Whoopi Goldberg, and she was talking about being in The Color Purple and where her characters constantly like told like she's ugly and how that started to get to her. And so I can't imagine what it does to a child. Yeah, so definitely I agree with the negative because she's not even fat and they make fun of her so much in this movie, which is not necessary at all. It could have just been a nice movie about female friendship. Like, kind of is, but I don't know.
Like you could have just made fun of the shelteredness, like that part of her character.
Yeah.
Because there's always a sheltered friend and somebody has to give us grief. And that would have been fine, but you didn't have to pick on her size.
Yeah, because that would be very accurate.
Well, especially when boys are also part of that and picking on you and your size. It's yeah.
Yeah, I was up until high school, I was like the tallest person in my class. I was always the biggest person in my class. So.
I was the tallest person in my class until the end of my sophomore year of high school.
Do you have any final thoughts on Chrissy or the movie?
I think just sort of, if you are somebody that has watched the film or you're going to watch it after this, if Chrissy's character alone strikes some sort of resonance with you, I want you to think about what version of yourself you're thinking of. And I want you to do what my therapist had me do once. Because I bring up the age like 9 a lot because that's when I started to, that's the earliest age I can remember actually wishing to be different. I want you to really like close your eyes and think about that version of yourself. And I want you to give them all of the love that they deserved. Because we know better now. Mm-hmm. And you deserved love, and you deserved to be accepted, and you deserved that acceptance from yourself and everyone around you at that age. And I'm sorry if you felt different. And I'm sorry if anyone made you feel less. Because you're amazing.
Yeah. So. That's very nice. I like that. Yeah. I feel like learning to love yourself is probably the hardest process, but
sometimes loving yourself now starts with loving yourself from that young age.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that's all for this episode. Thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Do you have anything that you want to plug, like any performances or social media or anything?
Go see all of the kids in Lion King Jr. at the Fisher. That's the weekend of like the 21st, I believe, of July. The next weekend, go to DHS and watch the DLO teen show. Go see Anything Goes. And then, you know what you're going to do the week after that? Not only are you going to go to the Danville Public Library and go to the Stranger Things event, but you're also going to audition for A Christmas Story or encourage people to audition for it. And then you're going to buy your tickets for it.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to do.
Me and Mackenzie have decided we're going to split the media 50-50 for that one. So I'll be around for that one.
That show's in November. But if you or someone you know loves musical theater and love that show, come audition for it. You can find information on Facebook or the website. You know, it's everywhere. DLO Musical Theater. Go do it. I'm sure Red Mask is having auditions for some things too. I think it's Vanya, Sasha, Masha, and Spike, but I don't know when. And in August, an evening of Sondheim music with DLO as well. And that's 2 nights. There's so many things happening.
And if you don't live in Danville, get on a plane or a train or a car and get over here.
Get over here. We got so much going on.
So much. Yeah. Sometimes. All right. As always, you can follow the podcast on TikTok at bbb.thepodcast and on Instagram at bbb.podcast. And you can follow me, your host, on Instagram at Carolina Howie. And until next time, stay fat and fabulous. Bye.